Hey everyone, Andrew back for another Barista Basics video. So before I get into today's video, I just wanted to apologize for the fact, apologize for my lack of video last week, and sort of the lack of Everybody's Gone to the Rapture videos. Regarding those, like I said, it kind of has been more difficult for me to find time to film that game while being home in New Jersey. And as we know, this past Sunday was Father's Day, so needless to say, it was pretty rough. And, sort of the week leading into Father's Day, I kind of got thinking a lot, got in my feels, and just was kind of feeling really bogged down and not super motivated or just really in the best place. So that's why those videos have been, kind of MIA. That's also why the Barista Basics video last week was not filmed or uploaded. But things should be getting back to normal, so anticipate a new Everybody's Gone to the Rapture video this week. And obviously here is this week's Barista Basics video. But yeah, I hope you can understand, and I'm really sorry about that. But to get into today's video, as you can tell from the title, this is essentially going to discuss how to handle, manage, deal with whatever words you want to use, the pandemic and sort of its repercussions, certain precautions, etc., in your workplace. Now, the majority of this advice is, pretty general. It's applicable across, basically any sort of job. But some of the advice is also going to specifically pertain to not only coffee shops or, coffee houses, whatever, but also, like food handling places. So we can go ahead and get started. I'd say probably the most important thing would be dealing with wearing a mask at work. Now, it definitely is not fun, obviously, to be wearing a mask for like 6 hours, but it is definitely a necessary evil, especially obviously when you are serving other people or when you're interacting with anybody. It's important to wear a mask, because you're not even wearing it to protect yourself. Mostly, you're wearing it to protect others from yourself. So needless to say, wearing a mask is very important. I've been seeing lots of statistics about like the, how the rate of, sort of infection decreases dramatically between like one person who's positive wearing a mask versus another person who's not, and then vice versa, and then both of them wearing a mask. If you and somebody else are wearing a mask, I think it's like a 1.5% chance of transmission. So clearly wearing a mask is very important and vital, even though it does, it's not the best having to wear a mask, especially when it's hot out and, you have trouble hearing the customers. It can be really troublesome, but that is definitely one of the most pivotal aspects that you need to keep in mind when you're at work. Kind of going along with that, also, washing your hands constantly and wearing gloves. Now, this is more specific to food handling, wearing the gloves part, but washing your hands, everybody should just do it, just period. But especially nowadays, it's super important to wash your hands frequently and to wash them for the correct amount of time, which is at least 20 seconds, if I recall correctly. And I think I've seen some places that's like saying happy birthday to yourself twice. It's really not that much time. Everybody can spare 20 seconds to make sure their hands are thoroughly cleaned. Now, relating to gloves, well, also you should wash your hands about every half an hour, or more frequently, of course, would never be an issue, but at least every half an hour. And the same applies for if you're wearing gloves. It's recommended that you change the, sorry, I was changing the lighting a bit, you saw my thumb there. It's important to change your gloves also every half an hour roughly as well, just to be sure, because, when you're wearing your gloves, you're handling money, you're, handing off drinks or, food, whatever. And so obviously pathogens and like contagions can remain on your gloves. So it's important to change those out as well. I would say another really, and also sanitizing your hands also goes along with that too. So changing gloves frequently is important, washing your hands frequently is important, and then also sanitizing, especially after, or changing gloves even after you handle money specifically, is really important, because obviously the person who's handing you the money is they've touched the money and you're touching it in return. So it's just really important to ensure that everything is as cleanly and as sanitary as possible, which of course goes without saying during a pandemic. And I'd say probably another really important piece of advice, and this more so pertains to really customer forward, like retail or, food handling services, is to be stern about, safety procedures and guidelines with customers, but also riding it's a very delicate line to ride. Obviously you were in the right by telling a customer that they have to put on a mask, etc., especially when there are executive orders or certain rules or policies in place, even separate from your job, but, statewide or, regionally, locally, whatever, that dictate the need to wear masks. For example, there's an executive order in New Jersey. I'm not entirely sure when that got passed, but I think it's been around for quite a bit now, that says that you need to wear a mask inside. Just period. No ifs, ands, or buts about it, unless you have some sort of medical issue or like if you're a child under 2 or something. But needless to say, it can be kind of tricky to have those kinds of conversations with your customers, especially when some of them, because customers, of course, will have different opinions about everything in general, but specifically, the severity of the pandemic, whether it's even real or not, things like that, the necessity of having to wear a mask or whatever. People have different opinions, obviously, and so it's especially tricky, most times. I mean, at least in what I've experienced working at the Starbucks in my town, most people come in wearing the masks just because they know. But also some people will come in and, you have to politely be like, oh, we can't serve you unless you have a mask on. And then most people are like, oh yeah, sorry, I totally thought I had it on, that's my bad. And, of course it's fine, they put it on and everything's Gucci. But then occasionally there are also some people who are a little less receptive to that and are even a bit defensive or even offended. I'd go as far to say that you would even ask them to do something like that. And those are the customers, obviously, that need a bit more attention given to them. So this fly is hanging around me. It's really important it's a very fine line to walk, because you have a right to inform them to put on a mask or that they can't be served, but at the same time you don't necessarily want to come off as like some really like rude person. Essentially, I think tone is really important and word choice is very key as well in those situations. Because you could very easily be like, yeah, we're not serving you because you don't have a mask on, like, do you not care about other people, etc. And, it wouldn't necessarily be great customer service to do that, but you have a right to inform them that they can't be served. But of course, a way to sort of help mitigate tension between you and the customer would be to, change your tone and change your choice of words, like I said. So, instead of saying that, perhaps you could be like, hey, you don't really need to apologize, but if you want to be super nice, then you can do that too. You could be like, sorry, but there's actually an executive order that has been issued that mandates that people need to wear masks inside, public buildings, service buildings, and that we can't serve you unless you have a mask on. And, that's that. And then if the customer starts, throwing a big hoorah or whatever, then, you can very kindly be like, sorry, like, I'm sorry you feel that way about that, but rules are rules and we have to abide by them, not only for your safety and the other customers like around us safety, but also our own personal safety. Then kindly inform the customer that they need to leave and they can very happily come back and we'd accept them if they have a mask on. Now, obviously, this is easier said than done because there are some people that really push your buttons and are just really not super nice. They may even curse at you. That has happened before. But you just kind of have to take it in stride and realize that, like, water off a duck's back, essentially. Easier said than done, of course. It's hard to not take things to heart, especially when somebody uses profanity or like says something mean directly about you. But it's, like I said, it's important to just remember that, they're a random. You don't know that person. They don't know you. Whatever they're saying about you is based on how they're feeling at the moment. And it's really just superficial words. It's not like they really are saying anything that's defining you or like speaking about you personally. Of course, that's easier said than done, like I said, but it is important to try to watch out for your mental health as well, especially with customers like that. So essentially, to summarize that whole thing, handling customers is very delicate and a very much like a tripwire, or not a tripwire, sorry, a tightrope that you have to walk. But it's a necessary evil sometimes. Now, I feel like there was another point I had related to handling the coronavirus at work. And I guess actually, so I do have one more thing to say, and this is sort of to support the emotional health of not only yourself but your coworkers, is to openly engage in dialogue about it. Be receptive to your coworkers speaking to you about their discomfort with everything. If they feel the need to gripe about having to wear a mask, or if they truthfully feel a little nervous to come to work and they're nervous to interact with customers, those feelings are totally valid, of course. And it's just really important to be receptive and to really listen when, if a coworker feels the need to share that information with you, because if you were in that position, you would want them to be receptive and to be attentively listening as well. And so not only does that help, sort of build team morale and keep everybody sort of on the same page, but it also just kind of separate from work, this is a person confiding in you because they're uncomfortable about something. So it's really important to not make them feel bad about it, and to, not shut them down or anything. And yeah, so I think those are all of the main points I have about how to handle, this pandemic at work. But essentially, be as sanitary as possible. Wearing a mask obviously is necessary, and looking out for your own mental health and your coworkers' mental health is also super important. Mental and emotional health, that is. But yeah, I hope that you found this video helpful. Obviously these are very trying times that we're living in. It's not easy for anybody. So I keep on doing that, sorry. I want to change the lighting and my thumb keeps on popping up. But yeah, trying times we're living in. It's not the easiest navigating all of this, but everybody's trying their best, and sometimes that's all we can ask for. So, just be sensitive, be understanding, but also be firm when you need to be, because, it's not just like somebody's opinion of, this pandemic doesn't negate the fact that they could potentially be putting other people at risk or themselves. So these are all just things to consider. Yeah, and again, I hope you found this video helpful. I hope that you are having a good day. It is absolutely beautiful out. I hope it is lovely where you are too. It's been a bit hot lately, but it's quite comfortable right now, thankfully. So I hope that you are enjoying the day and making the most of it. I also hope that you guys are, of course, staying well, staying safe, staying healthy, motivated, and entertained. If you are protesting, I encourage you to be extra safe. Again, please have a trustworthy emergency contact or two in case things go awry. Breonna Taylor still has not had justice. So I'm mentioning that because that's just one example that demonstrates that this fight is not anywhere near over. Keep on signing petitions, keep on donating if you can, and keep on protesting and marching if there are some sort of organized events like that in your town or somewhere nearby, and you're comfortable doing that. I would encourage you to participate in those because it's very impactful, clearly. But yes, this battle is not even close to being done. Sorry, this fly is hanging around me. I think he's telling me it's time to shut up. So I will. I, again, hope you guys are doing well, and I hope you're staying safe, and I will see you later in the week for a new Everybody's Gone to the Rapture video. I'm very excited to get back into that game, and yeah, I hope that you learned something important, and I will see you guys soon. Take care.